watching CramerSez.
Caught completely off guard. I was not paying attention. Hey, welcome to the show. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project. It is, what is it? It's Monday, and tomorrow at 11 o'clock, 11 a.m., there's going to be a big rally downtown at the State House in support of redistricting in the state of Indiana. If you have the ability to get your butts down there, for you're a Hoosier and you're wanting to redistrict the state, get your butt down there. If you're a Hoosier and you do not want to redistrict the state, that is a hard word to say. If you don't want to do that, there may be a reason. You may be ignorant of the facts. I'm not calling you ignorant. I'm saying that you don't know what's going on and why, and we'll be explaining that during the show tonight. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project. I work out of Indiana. I, for a long time, worked in Indiana state politics and got cross with the Republican Party. They kicked me out. They said, no, we don't need you. We'll get the work that you were doing done someplace else. And so that happened about 4 years ago. And since, I've been doing the exact same thing I was doing for them, for others. And it's funny how all of a sudden things have come full circle. Tomorrow, I'll be back down at the State House doing what I used to do, this time screaming and yelling at the Republicans who refuse to do what the leader of the party says needs to be done. Rod Bray, who's out of Martinsville, doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. It is literally that bad in the state of Indiana. Let me explain how bad Indiana has gotten under Pence. And what was that Huckleberry that came in under Pence? What was his name? Oh, yeah, Huckleberry Holcomb. Yeah. Let me tell you how bad it got under Pence and Huckleberry Holcomb. When I got into politics back in 2010, and I really got into it, right? I mean, I was going to the meetings, I was doing everything, I was showing up, doing what I'm supposed to do. At that time, when I got into politics and we got the supermajority in the state of Indiana, Indiana was considered the second most conservative state in the nation. Do you know what it is after the tutelage of Pence and Huckleberry Holcomb? Yeah, we're at 22nd, 23rd. That's how far we've dropped. And now we've got Rod Bray, who is saying that, no, we're not going to hold a vote in the state of Indiana because I don't think I can get the votes together. He's the leader of the Senate, and we're a supermajority. Folks, Indiana is a supermajority. You're telling me that the Republicans that are representing this supermajority are not necessarily Republicans, and we can't count on them when we need them in the state of Indiana? Yeah. That's absolutely right. Now, there is one state senator that's in on this, and she's pushing it hard. I talked to her back on October 27th. This is Liz Brown. She's an Indiana state senator, and she's going to explain to an extent why we need this, not just in the state of Indiana, but nationally.
You're watching CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project, and we are back. There's a big drive right now going on across the country to redistrict red states. There's a very specific reason, and our guest this morning is going to explain that. That is Liz Brown. She's an Indiana state senator, and she's been working very hard to get this taken care of in Indiana. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, me too, because, you know, there's been a lot of misinformation, disinformation about this subject, so I'm hoping you'll fill us in. Why does Indiana need to do this now?
Well, we're not playing in a fair game. We thought we were all playing by the same rules, all of us being the states, 50 states, and it's been quite clear that's not happening anymore. And if we really want our voices to be heard in D.C., we need to do this.
So one of the things I've heard is that the reason is that the blue states have gerrymandered to the max. That's why they're so upset, is that they've already gone as far as they can go. They have very few seats or very little wiggle room available, so they are at the max of gerrymandering. Is that true?
Oh, 100%. If you look at states like Illinois, Maryland, California, we could go on in their maps. I mean, they have the bare minimum, 29, 30 representatives in their states, and there might be a handful of Republicans, and that's not how the vote works out. You look in New England, right? I mean, pretty much it's 60-40, 60-40 D's to R's. State of Indiana is the flip. And in those states all across New England, there's not one Republican representative. That is not That is not scientifically possible unless you deliberately draw them outside so they can never win office. And so we thought we were all playing by the same rules, so that we thought the 435 representing us in DC was a fair representation, and it's been clear it's not. So that means Republican voices across the country, not just in Indiana, aren't being heard.
What does the recent influx of ghost voters or new voters, or the risk of that coming into our nation over the last 4 years with the open border, how much does that play into this as well?
Well, I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, we do know there was a post survey done after the census was taken. The data was not released until the Biden administration took over. And we know that in the middle of the Biden administration, they found out that Texas and Florida, for example, were undercounted. Well, we can't take congressional representatives away from other states. We can't just guess and say it must be California or it must be New Mexico, Arizona. So they just get undercounted, and that's the problem. No one really knows.
Is Trump's direct involvement in this and the vice president's direct involvement in this, is this moving the needle in Indiana, do you think?
I think it is moving. I think it also has made us all aware it's a bigger problem, a national problem than any of us were understanding at the time. So yeah, I think it helps a little bit to have that kind of information and an understanding that this problem is not just a state problem.
What about those who are saying no? You've got some people in the Senate, some Republicans that are coming up and saying no, they're not going to do this. What's the answer to get them to a yes?
I think stepping back and looking at all the facts, I was shocked to find out that Massachusetts and Connecticut, for example, are 60-40 Ds to Rs, the reverse of Indiana, no Republicans at all, right? How does that happen? Then you step back, New England, 21-0, no Republicans at all. I'm not paying attention to Massachusetts. Frankly, I don't want to be Massachusetts. Right. But now all of a sudden I find these numbers to be the unbalance there. Yeah, we have to take a stand.
What are some of the legal hurdles we're going to see that you guys are going to have to overcome to make this happen? Is there anything in the way that could stop this?
Well, first of all, certain states have different rules, right? This is not a constitutional issue for us. If we want to redistrict during the census times of every 10 years, we can do that without any legal hurdles. So for us, no, it's not a problem.
What are the constituents of Indiana saying? Have you talked to the people in your district and around the state? What are Hoosiers saying about this issue?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, I can't say that 6 months ago people were coming up to me and saying we need to do this, but we also didn't have all the facts. And having gone to the White House, having heard the information from Vice President Vance, and then doing my own research, you realize, wow, we really have been asleep at the wheel. We have missed this for decades, and we need to step up and change this. So now when you inform voters, they're like, oh, I had no idea it was this bad. Sure, we need to do this.
And do you think that this redistricting across the state for the midterms in 26, do you think that that's a direct representation or showcases the strategy that Trump has moving forward?
I think it's part of it, yes. I mean, I have to give him credit for bringing attention to this issue. It's not just personal. This is the future of the country. And if we don't put a break on this now, we're never going to be able to undo it. And I don't think this is a power that certain states have. Some, as I said, it's constitutional, and they will only be able to do it once every 10 years. But this is a power we have, and we are certainly, I think, responsible in using it. What
do you expect Governor Braun to do? Do you expect him to call a session and get this on the plate here pretty soon?
Yes. The press release went out this morning, and my understanding is the special session will start next Monday. I don't really know what that looks like in terms of timing and the length of days. I think there's a limit to how many days we call back, but this and other issues, I understand there's some federal and state tax issues that need to be looked at. They'll probably be on the agenda.
Our guest is Liz Brown. Liz is an Indiana state senator and talking about what's going on with the redistricting in the state. Liz, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views. CramerSez returns after this message from our partners. Last week in our We Told You So series,
We warned GM investors that CEO Mary Barra was bad for business.
we were right.
Barra's love affair with EVs just cost stockholders $1.6 billion as GM takes a massive loss after Biden subsidies come to an end. Then, Paul Chesser reported Bank of America had no problem debanking conservatives.
This is an issue that NLPC's been investigating since the story broke.
But refused to expose Jeffrey Epstein's financial activities.
During the January 6th uprising, Bank of America scrubbed through its data and turned over credit card information without being asked, without being subpoenaed, without having a warrant given to them by federal law enforcement. At the same time, they were doing business with Jeffrey Epstein without question. And then after Epstein died, they suddenly realized, we need to report this activity. And they filed 2 suspicious activity reports, as they should have done when Epstein was still alive and still banking, but they didn't do so. They were basically covering up the business that Epstein was conducting.
But wait, there's more.
NLPC Chairman Peter Flaherty is calling for the indictment of John Brennan, the ex-CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax, relied on the discredited Steele dossier, and lied to Congress.
According to the House Judiciary Committee, John Brennan committed crimes. We believe there's even more to the story, and we're going to stay on top of it.
That was last week. What's NLPC working on next? Find out by subscribing to the NLPC on this platform.
Or by visiting us at nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it, please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Tomorrow, we're going to be downtown Indianapolis tomorrow at the Indiana State Capitol, and we are going to be rallying, telling our senators that they got to do the right job. They got to do the job the people want, not the job the special interest want. You know, when I tell you folks that you got to go get involved, this is what I'm talking about. I had so many people tell me that, well, I can't make it tomorrow, Tim. I have to work. Why are they doing this organization day, you know, of all the congressional members and the Senate members of the Indiana House and Senate? Why are they doing that during the week when I work? Because that's when they work too. Yeah, Congress doesn't hold session on the weekends. Yeah, so you got to go down there and bitch at them, you know, when they're there. Not when they're at home. You got to go down there when they're there. You're telling me that you can't take a day off to go and bitch and moan at people who you keep complaining about all the time? That's too much for you? Now, I understand that some people can't just phone in the next day and say, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I get that. But this is the excuse I get time and time again. It's during the week. I work during the week. Well, so are they. That's when the politicians are working. That's when they're doing their job. That's why we're going down there when they're there, not on the weekend. If you go downtown, Indianapolis, and you're walking around the circle on the weekend, especially if it's in the rain like the No Kings protesters did twice, you're a moron. Why would you go down there when nobody's there? You're bitching and yelling at an empty building. January 6th, took the day off, went to D.C., bitched and yelled at a building full of politicians. I wouldn't recommend doing it, for example, while they were on break or while the government was shut down. You don't do it then. You do it when they're there. It's like going to somebody's house and knocking on the door and going, they're never home, because you always go there when they're not there. Doesn't make any sense at all. The reason that we're doing this is because we want, folks, we want to get control back. For those of you who don't understand what the redistricting thing is all about and why it seems weird, is because it is weird. We're trying to resettle the game table. You see, what Democrats have done over the years is they have gone in and they have gerrymandered their state to the max. They have no more wiggle room, right? For example, what Liz Brown said just a couple of moments ago, we talked to her a week or so ago. She was saying there that Delaware, for example, is the direct opposite of Indiana. And Indiana, we have 2 congressional members that are Democrats. The rest are Republican. Our makeup is 60-40, meaning that we are 60% Republican and 40% Democrat. Now, in Delaware, it's just the opposite. They're 60 blue, 40 red. You would think there would be at least 2 out of their 9. There'd be 2, right? No, none. Not a single one. How is that possible? 40% of the state is Republican, and you can't get 1 Republican congressional member out of the state of Delaware? That's because they've gerrymandered to the max. That's why they're so upset. They don't have anywhere to go. They've painted themselves into a corner, and our corner's fucking wide open. We can do anything we want. And when we gerrymander, when we do the exact same thing that they've done, guess what happens? We take control. We level the playing field. We bring it back to the way it should. Equilibrium. So tomorrow, we will be down at the Indiana State Capitol at 11 a.m. Wear red if you have something red. I was just informed by my wife tonight that, oddly, our son went to IU. We've lived in Indiana our entire lives, and we don't have a stitch of red clothing. So I may not be in red. But please, if you get the opportunity, if you've got red, wear red tomorrow downtown to the Indiana State Capitol so we can tell our senators that they're supposed to do what we want and not what the special interests want. Not what the donors want. Not what their lily-livered, chicken-livered wives have to say or their husbands have to say. No, what we the people want. This has been my message, folks, you have to be involved. You cannot sit by the sidelines and say, somebody else is going to do it, or they're going to do it. Isn't that what we keep hearing? Nothing's ever going to happen. They're not going to do anything. Who do you think they are? My message is clear. I don't expect politicians to do anything other than what politicians do. Do you know what that is? Ask for money, lie, and try to get reelected. That's it. Very few of them will tell you the truth on purpose. They don't have to. You keep accepting them for telling the lies. And by the way, the other thing that we're talking about is anybody but the incumbent. I got a lot of political friends. A lot. And I've told them, don't come at me. Even if I'm doing work for you, don't come at me. I support you. Good luck. But I don't want you to win. Well, why is that, Kramer? Because we got to get anybody but the incumbent. Anybody but the incumbent. 2026 should be the cycle of anybody but the incumbent. And do you know how you do that? Well, first of all, you pay attention. You don't show up on election day in November and go, okay, who do I vote for? You start doing that in the spring. You start paying attention in the spring. And in the primary in your state, you vote for anybody but that motherfucker that's already in office. That's how you term limit these crooks. You keep saying that that's what you want. That you want term limits. Everybody says they want term limits. Term limit, term limit, term limit. They're not going to term limit themselves. They're just not going to do it. Would you? Would you term limit yourself? Do it tomorrow. Go in and quit your job tomorrow. It's the same thing, folks. They're not going to do it. They work too hard to get there. You think they're going to term limit themselves? They got to go? They've tried to do that in the NFL and the NBA, and what happens? They get somebody who wants to stay longer than they should. Why? Because it's human nature. They don't want to go. They want to keep going. They want to Brett Favre it to the very end. But these are politicians, not athletes. You see, we can directly see that an athlete is not what they used to be, and they probably ought to go out to pasture. We've got fucking politicians falling over in the goddamn hallway, fainting, passing out. We've got one that 6 months in a nursing home before anybody even realized she was missing from Congress. That's how bad the system is. So we got to get anybody but the incumbent. But Kramer, that's going to mess. No, we don't care anymore. You see, I don't give a shit. Some people are saying, well, Trump is saying this. Listen, I support what Trump is doing, but at the same time, we got to do what's best for us. I'm not doing what's best for President Trump. To date, we're still waiting on a bunch of the things that he promised. Again, he's a politician. He promises things and can't necessarily always deliver them. So we got to do that for ourselves, folks. We got to stop waiting for those people to go do the right thing for us and do what they promise and deliver on the promise. They're not doing it in Indiana. So what we got to do tomorrow is we're going to go down to the Indiana State Capitol and put those people's feet to the fire and tell them, hey, everybody, these people in this building right here are going to be calling you and begging for money. They're going to be begging for your support. They want you to give them support, your vote. In just a few months, they're going to expect you to walk into the voting booth and pull that lever or put your finger on a button or whatever you do where you vote, and they're going to expect you to put that check by their name. This is where you tell them, hey, listen, I'd like to. I would really like to support you, but I haven't seen any evidence that you're supporting me. I'm telling you what I want, and you're voting against what's in my best interest. You don't know what that is. I do. I'm here telling you that right now. I took time out of my day, time from making money, time from earning the paycheck that you siphon your paycheck off of. I'm down here telling you, I don't want you doing this, or I want you doing it this way. You don't have time for that? You don't have time to go tell these politicians that you're always bitching and moaning and groaning about? You don't have time to do that tomorrow? You don't have time to call into work well? Hey, listen, I feel great today, and I'm not coming in. I'm going to spend it doing the fuck what I want to do. And today, I'm going to go tell my politicians that they got to do what the fuck I want them to do. Or they're not going to get my support come springtime. That's how you do it. Now, I'm still committed to, anybody but the incumbent. But they don't know that. Don't tell them that. Tell them they have to earn your vote. Do a switcheroo on them like they do on you, like they did during COVID. Remember that? Oh, you guys got to stay home. You're not essential right now. And how essential are you right now? Yeah, you're real essential, aren't you? Yeah, if you stop paying those taxes, they don't know what to fucking do. The government shuts down for 40 days. They called it the end of the world. We were shut down for 3 fucking years. 3 fucking years. We had to worry about where the paychecks were going to come from. 3 fucking years. They couldn't handle 40 fucking days. Anybody but the incumbent. America, you got to get serious about your freedoms and liberties. You can't sit back here and expect that these motherfuckers are going to do it for you. They've proven time and time and time again they will not. So what we're going to do is go down there tomorrow and tell them, very bluntly, there's no pussyfooting around. Listen, you guys are just months away from begging for our support. We're here today telling you, you don't have it if you don't start doing what you're supposed to do, what we're telling you to do. You're not our bosses. We're yours. You are public servants. It's literally in your name. What is a servant? A servant is nothing more than a notch above a slave. It's serving the master. We, the people, are the master. We tell them what to do. You see, we've forgotten that part of it because they keep threatening us. They keep making laws that harm us for telling them what to do. That's not the way it's supposed to be. I don't know if you know what this liberty and freedom thing's all about, but it's not this. It's not what we have. I've been talking about it for months. Founding fathers. Got George Washington out there on the Delaware River the night before Christmas. They got their boats ready to go attack the British on the other side of the river. George goes, okay, let's get in the boat, men. And George, hold on. Just a moment. I can't get in this boat and go over there and fight and risk my life if my great grandchildren don't live in a world where they're taxed at least 50 to 60% of everything that they make. Combined taxes between state, local, and federal. Yeah, I'm not getting that goddamn boat unless that's the case. Do you think that happened? Or what about another guy stepping up and saying, hey, yeah, you know what? I want to jump in on this. I'm not getting in the boat unless we have open borders. Yeah, I want people to come pouring across the border, and my people that I give birth to, I want them to have to pay those motherfuckers' bills, and if you say anything about it, you're a racist. That's what I want. I'm not getting in the fucking boat, George. Won't do it. You know what I want to do? Now that we're talking about this, what I want to do is I want to send money to foreign shores. That's what the third guy says. You're right, guys. We got to start making conditions. Before we go fight the British, before we risk our lives, we should make sure that at some point in the future, our government takes our hard-earned money and gives it to people overseas who then take that and return it to the politicians through dark money, like what they've been doing with Act Blue. I'm not getting in the boat until you promise that, George. Can you imagine that conversation happening on the river, the Delaware shore, right before they go to attack the British? Can you imagine that that's what those men were thinking of, that this is the America that they were willing to die for? It is not. That's not what they were willing to die for, folks. Freedom, liberty, the right to say whatever the fuck they wanted to say. The right not to be taxed out of existence. The right to have your property. Think about this. In this country, there's very few states to where you can live for free. Right? You go in, you set up your property. Let's say you've got a 10 to 15, acre lot, and you come in, you put a house in there. They want permits. They want you to get permission from them to build on your property. And then, after you've built it, they're going to charge you taxes to stay there for all the amenities they deliver. And you go, well, I don't need any of those. What about the fire department, the police department? No, I'll defend myself, and if it catches fire and everything, I'm willing to let it burn. You can't do that in this country. You are taxed from the time you make your first dime till you take your last breath. They want their piece. That's slavery, folks. That's what our founding fathers were fighting against. If they found out that we had given up, given in, and allowed lesser men and women to tell us what we couldn't do with our property, the property that we slaved for to earn, the money to own. Sound like Obama there for a second. I think I'm stroking out. But it's interesting that our founding fathers it wasn't a 3% tax, folks. It was a 3-cent tax. It was like per ton or something. I mean, it was such a low fee. Today, we wouldn't even bat an eye about it. But back then, it was important. Why? Because their currency hadn't been devalued by the Fed. Their gold was worth what the gold was worth. Their money was worth what it was worth. It wasn't devalued by a bunch of men who are the middlemen in our economy that come in and strip the value out of everything and then tell you that you're not paying your fair share. We got here, folks, because you didn't show up. Hurts, don't it? That's the worst part of what I do. I didn't show up either. I got to be honest with you. I was right there with you until I realized how important it was to show up. Numbers is what scare them. 1 or 2 crazies in the hallways of Congress, that doesn't scare them. 500,000 to 2 million, 5 million people on the front lawn of the Capitol. I was there on January 6th. I saw how they reacted that day and the day after, the weeks after. It was the scariest thing ever. Oh my God, my life was at risk. Well, that's not why we were there. Were there troublemakers? Yeah. Yep. We tried screaming and yelling. In fact, we tried to get the cops to take care of those guys. Nope. That's when we knew something was weird. When the bad guys weren't being taken care of by the cops. No. That's how we knew that things were not what they were being presented as. But we were there. We showed up. Took time off work to make sure that we were there. You got to do the same thing, folks. You've got to commit. Either your freedom is important to you or it's not. And if it's not, then stop bitching online. I'm tired of reading your shit.
The CramerSez Project will return.
After this important message. Last week in our We Told You So series,
We warned GM investors that CEO Mary Barra was bad for business.
we were right.
Barra's love affair with EVs just cost stockholders $1.6 billion as GM takes a massive loss after Biden subsidies come to an end. Then, Paul Chesser reported Bank of America had no problem debanking conservatives.
This is an issue that NLPC's been investigating since the story broke.
But refused to expose Jeffrey Epstein's financial activities.
During the January 6th uprising, Bank of America scrubbed through its data and turned over credit card information without being asked, without being subpoenaed, without having a warrant given to them by federal law enforcement. At the same time, they were doing business with Jeffrey Epstein without question. And then after Epstein died, they suddenly realized, we need to report this activity. And they filed 2 suspicious activity reports, as they should have done when Epstein was still alive and still banking, but they didn't do so. They were basically covering up the business that Epstein was conducting.
But wait, there's more.
NLPC Chairman Peter Flaherty is calling for the indictment of John Brennan, the ex-CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax, relied on the discredited Steele dossier, and lied to Congress.
According to the House Judiciary Committee, John Brennan committed crimes. We believe there's even more to the story, and we're going to stay on top of it.
That was last week. What's NLPC working on next? Find out by subscribing to the NLPC on this platform.
Or by visiting us at nlpc.org.
Introducing Tusk.
With Tusk, you get uncensored news and secure browsing.
All while protecting your privacy.
Choose the news you trust and take control of your internet.
Join the free speech revolution with Tusk.
Download Tusk today at tuskbrowser.com.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it,
Please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Woo-hoo! Tomorrow, we're going to be down at the state capitol tomorrow, Indiana State Capitol. If you're a Hoosier and you're concerned about this redistricting thing and you want your senators to pay attention to you, go down there and tell Rod Bray he's a moron. Tomorrow's your opportunity. 11 a.m. downtown, the rotunda of the Indiana State Capitol, and they're requesting that you please wear red. You will not see me in red. I sadly do not have any red clothes. My wife told me tonight. Did not know that. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is we have gotten a huge reply to our call for people at the CramerSezProject.com. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we're trying to build a grassroots news service. Today, news isn't that tough. Delivering it's not that tough. Gathering it is the time-consuming thing. But doing what I'm doing right now, not really that tough. If you've got a good team that knows what they're doing and how to compile it, it's fairly easy to do. It doesn't take all that much. And we think that it's time. One of the things that we're working on right now, for example, we're working on a project with a group breaking down Soros. Who is he? What's he all about? And where does his money go? And what does it do to you? For you, against you, so on. So we're currently breaking that down. And it's interesting that when you get into the real subject matter and you start to break down what who these people are and who they hang around with and what they say, it's scarier and scarier every moment. For example, if you're not aware that George Soros, for example, was a huge funder and provider of expertise for Zoran Mamdani. You don't think that means a lot, but it does. And we're breaking down that story and more in this series of documentaries that we're doing. They're very short documentaries, but when you tie them all together, it'll be a full, long-form piece. So pretty exciting piece of work that we're doing right now. And we're breaking down all of the different areas of George Soros. That's the kind of work that we want to do at the CramerSez Project, but even more in depth. Not just Soros, but the vaccines and corruption, not just in the D.C. area, but in states around the country. We know that these stories exist. We know that it's happening, and it's not being reported on for one simple reason. The local organizations don't have the money. Their model is busted. It's broke. The national ones, well, they don't care. They're owned by big pharma, big business, big tech, so they're not going to delve into these stories. These stories are important to you and me because they touch our lives. They affect our lives. And that's where we see the value in. If you want to join us, if you want to help, then go over there and look and see what we're doing. And if there's something you can do, there's a form there, fill it out, let us know how we can help or how you can help. And here in the next few weeks, we're going to be having a Zoom call where the people we bring in and we start talking about what we really want to do. Now, we're looking for broadcast professionals right now. That's who we're looking for up front. People that know the business, know how to deliver the news, know how to edit the news, and so on. Those who know how to tell stories in video and audio form. That's who we're looking for initially. That's the world I came from. So that part of it has been fairly easy to start getting a wrangle around. Later on, we'll need technical people for a number of different reasons: web design, development, app design, development, and then eventually broadcasting, where we'll build a full studio. This is the goal. Now, it's funny. A few years ago, I was told I got a hot copy of an application called Final Cut Pro. This is years ago. I had never touched video, had not done any mess around with video at all. And a couple of years later, I got a hot copy of it. And a couple of years later, I launched a video production company. And the next thing you know, within a couple of years, we're working with Nissan. We're working with the Golf Channel, Nickelodeon, major brands around the country. This is the way that I tend to work, is I find something that I'm passionate about. I spend all my time, all my energy. That's what I focus on. And then I figure out how to make money with it, how everybody else can make money with it, how we can make it profitable. Saying from the get-start or the get-go that we're going to be a profitable news agency, can't say that up front. Not sure that that's going to happen. That's been my track record. I figure out how to do it. I'm one of those guys. I do not see the trees and the forest. I see all the opportunities for toothpicks in front of me. And so that's where we're at right now. We hope that you'll join us, and you can learn more about it over at the CramerSezProject.com. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching the Kramer Says Project.
Global news with local views.
From the halls of Congress
Across the nation.
and around the globe.
You're getting the latest news and conservative views.
You're watching the Kramer Says Project.
Global news with local views.
Kramer Says returns after this message from our partners.
Call it the wedding of the woke. Billionaire heir Alex Soros just tied the knot with Hillary Clinton's longtime enforcer, Huma Abedin, in an ultra-exclusive ceremony that was about as subtle as a BLM riot with bottle service.
It was quite an event. It took place on Shelter Island, which is off Long Island. You can't get there unless you're very rich. The event was attended by two former presidents, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. And of course, Hillary was there.
Translation: if you don't own a private jet, you're not on the guest list.
This event took place behind a phalanx of security, ironically, on Saturday, the same day when the Soros Foundations were bankrolling the so-called No Kings demonstrations around the country.
You heard that right. While the elite were toasting with Veuve Clicquot, Soros-backed protests were lighting up the streets, because nothing says no kings like a family that buys district attorneys and throws $14 million weddings guarded like a royal fortress.
This violence in the streets? Well, it's not spontaneous, and the American people deserve to know who's behind it.
While the media gushes over the dress, the venue, and the guest list, NLPC is tracking the dollars, right from the Soros empire to the streets.
We are identifying the money flows between the Soros Foundation and the activists who are conducting these protests.
You may not know our name, but since 1991, the National Legal and Policy Center has investigated and exposed more crime and corruption than any other political watchdog group in the country. Period.
And with your help, we're going to get at the truth.
Like, follow, and share to be notified about any updates on this story and more. Or get in-depth reporting from the National Legal and Policy Center at nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it,
Please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
I know. Everybody says that it's a losing cause, but I don't give a shit. I think that we need to redistrict in the state of Indiana. So tomorrow I will be downtown at the Indiana State Capitol building in the Rotunda. I will not be wearing red, but I will be there. And we're going to be talking about why we need to do this. Now, there are some people in the state of Indiana who still don't get why this is so important. Even Republicans are going, why are we doing this? These are the establishment guys. They're stuck in their brain. They don't understand the game that we're playing. Folks, we are fighting a war, and most people don't understand that that's what we're in. And to win at what we're doing right now requires redistricting. Not for today, but 2026 and 2028. Why? Because Democrats are telling us what they're going to do. They've already smoke signaled. We're going to do this. Given power again, if we get elected again, we're going to do this. If we take over the House in 2026, we're going to impeach Trump. They're going to start the same shit over again. Now, they don't have any wiggle room. They have gerrymandered all they can. So for all of you stick-in-the-muds out there that seem to think that you know more about what's going on, please consider the fact of what happens in 2026. We go through the impeachment process all over again. And what if Swalwell and Jamie Raskin, Eric Swalwell out of California and Jamie Raskin, what have they had to say? They've said loudly and proudly that if they get control again, they're going after not only Trump and his family and the immediate circle, they're going after everybody that supported him. That includes me. That includes other people that have been on the media. We're up for grabs now. Why? For using our First Amendment rights. Don't you get it? They're coming for us. They're telling us up front, oh, Kramer, that's just hyperbole. Was it hyperbole when Letitia James did it? That's how I knew that they didn't have anything in the Epstein files, folks. They didn't have anything on Trump. That's what they did. If they had anything on Trump, they would have used it. Come on, use your goddamn brain. If they had anything, they would have used it. If there was anything in there at all that could have destroyed Trump without having to have Letitia James go after him with a fake fucking charge, turning a misdemeanor into 34 felonies, that is quite the hat trick. That's what they're going to do again. They've already threatened it. Now, sometimes when people make threats, I don't take them all that seriously, right? They don't have a track record of doing that, and they're just all talk. But the Democrats have a track record. They let their own cities burn and locked up fellow Americans for years without trial because of January 6th. They let their own cities burn and went after their political enemies. If you don't understand the need for redistricting and getting as many, because see, here's the thing, folks. We're coming back up on another census. We've got to get this, we've got to get the power base back equalized. We've got to get it as just as we can. We can't get it just if we're playing by their rules. The rules are, we'll do it, and then we'll label you guys as cheats if you do it. There's no cheating. There's nothing cheating here. There's no rule. There's no law that says you can't redistrict in the middle of a census, between census years. There's nothing there. There's nothing in the Constitution. Well, they never thought that would be the case. They never thought we'd have Democrats either. They did foresee the day, though, that the law would be used against the American people, and that's where we are. That's why we need to redistrict in the state of Indiana. I don't know about Texas. I don't know what Texas's situation is. Don't give two fucks. Don't live there. Live here in Indiana. And in Indiana, we need it. We need it because Democrats have already done it to the max. They don't have the wiggle room that we have. We need to take advantage of it. If we don't, we can't do what needs to be done over the next 3 years. Don't you get it? This locks us in. We don't have a supermajority in the Senate. We don't have a supermajority in the House. If we don't lock these positions out, if we don't stop Democrats from the threat That's what it is. The threat of stopping it all again. Folks, they stopped the economy in 20. They gave us how many fake investigations? Fake reasons as to why we should have an investigation? They lied to how many judges? How many FISA courts got lied to over the last 8 years by these motherfuckers? And you're worried about what we look like? What the optics are? Are you fucking insane? We're at war, folks. Look at what's happening in New York City. Do you think that we have any chance of defeating these motherfuckers by playing by their rules? We do not. You cannot. You cannot play by the same rules that they've been playing by, where they get to do whatever the fuck they want to do, and we have to pay the penalty if we cross the line just a little bit. They cross it all day long. The moment we come up to the line, they're screaming and yelling. Why? Why is redistricting such an issue? Why is gerrymandering such an issue? They've been doing it. Their states are gerrymandered. We know it. They know it. They know that we know. We know that they know we know. The reason they don't want us doing it is for one simple reason. It puts them behind the 8 ball. It evens the playing field out. That's what it's about, folks. It's just leveling it. It's doing the exact same thing that they're doing. Well, we're better than that. Do you know how to play the game? You can't lose. That's the whole game. If you lose, they'll come after you. That's what they're telling you. That's what the Democrats are saying. Swalwell, what did he say? Yeah, you give us power again, we're going to impeach Trump. We're going to come for those supporters. What did Raskin say? If you give us power again, we're going to come after these motherfuckers. What did Hillary Clinton say back in 2019, was it 2020, somewhere in that ballpark? Didn't she say that MAGA should be rounded up and locked up and put into concentration camps and re-educated? She did. And so did Collins. I can't remember her first name. She was running against Stefanik in New York for the Senate. What did she say? Remember what she said? We should build re-education internment camps. These camps that are being built, they should be built for MAGA, to lock MAGA up. Folks, they're not fucking around. If you don't think that it's possible, look what happened in Australia to those that stood against COVID. Where did they spend COVID? At home or locked up in an internment camp? Yeah, that's right. They got locked up by the same ideology that says that it's all right to do that. When powerful people tell me what they plan on doing to me, and it's something I'm probably not going to like, I believe them. I believe them. And when they take the effort to have seminars and conferences where they get together with other people from around the planet who think the exact same way, and they converse on how they're going to do it the most efficient way possible, and they give us dates as to when they want this done by, I believe them. You should too. They have a track record of doing what they say they're going to do, unlike our politicians. That's why the redistricting of red states to level the playing field is required. And if your leadership in your state doesn't have the balls to do it, like some of those in our state, then those motherfuckers have got to be reprimaried. Rod Bray, I'm coming for you. I don't live in your district, but that's where I'm from. That area of the country is where I'm from. That area of the state's where I'm from. Guess what I'm going to come and do? I'm going to give anybody in your district any of my time that they want to come down and talk to the constituents of your district. I want you gone. I will commit myself to helping anybody who's going to primary Rod Bray in the state of Indiana. These cocksuckers have got to go. Now, he's fucking with my life. He's fucking with my boys. He's fucking with my grandchildren. These fuckers can't be allowed to do what they're doing. And the only way that we have to do it without violence is at the ballot box, getting on a stump and screaming and yelling and making people understand how important it is to be involved. We don't want to do it with violence. Have you seen the new numbers? The left says that violence is fine, that as long as your cause is just, any means is is all right. 24% of Democrats believe that it's all right to commit violence against political opponents. 24%. Maybe that's why, Jay Johnson over there in Virginia, that's why he was so easy to chime out that he wanted his opponent dead, and not just his opponent dead, but he wanted bullets in the heads of his kids. So he could see them crying, his mom crying just to change their political opinion. That's the way they talk, folks. People that talk that way think that way. They can justify it. 3% on the right. Those are the numbers. 3%. 3% of conservatives think that it's okay to commit political violence to meet your ends meet, your ends. I'm screwing up. I cannot get this out of my mouth. You understand what I'm saying? 24%, nearly a quarter of all Democrats, think that it's all right to punch you, to knife you, to shoot you, to hang you, to burn you, anything that it takes. 24%. A quarter of them. 1 in 4. 3% on the right. 3% of conservatives believe that that's all right to do. I don't believe it is. I don't believe that you have the right to do that. See, that 24%, what they're going to do is they're going to wake up that 3%. That 24%, they think they're in the right. They think that they're going to do the right thing, and they're going to be taught a valuable life lesson. I did it on a live, talked about it a couple of days ago, that you do not want to wake up the man who did not want to be awakened. You do not want to awaken the monsters and men who have silenced their monsters. Folks, I am not the it is so funny. People see what they want to see. I lived on the streets when I was a kid. Okay? I left home. I couldn't stand it anymore. I left at 16. Lived in my car for a year. Went to college. That first year of college was tough. Living in my car. Couldn't even afford the dorm. But I went to class every day. Did what I was supposed to do. Living in my car. Bathing in a Burger King bathroom or wherever I could get in and they wouldn't kick me out. Had a little bag where I had all my things that I could wash up with and smell good. Every once in a while I'd sneak into the gym at college. Indiana Central. It's called University of Indianapolis now. I'd sneak in, and every once in a while I'd have a friend that would let me stay in his dorm, and I'd hot bunk. He'd leave, and I'd lay down and get a couple hours sleep. I've been there. I know how it is to tough things out. These kids have not, folks. They think they've had it tough. I had to go 3 days without Netflix one time. I couldn't Netflix and I couldn't binge and, chill. I couldn't get the coffee that I wanted. These are the things that they think is suffering. Unless you've gone hungry, you've gone without. You ever gone without food for a week because you can't afford to eat? I have. I know what that pain and suffering is like. I know what it does to your psyche. Makes you hungry. You'll do just about anything. Folks, the Democrats are not ready for what they're about to unleash. These people learned how to fight watching Grand Theft Auto, playing a video game. They've never been in an actual fight. You can tell the moment they get hit. Mike Tyson said it best that everybody's got a plan until they get jacked in the jaw. He's right. Now, again, I don't want violence. And the reason I don't want violence is because in my past, I've participated in violence. I've got friends that are dead because of things that were done back in the late 70s, early 90s. We got a buddy who's a drug dealer. They found him dead. Shot in the head, shot in the knees. He was tasting the candy. They wanted to teach a lesson. That was a buddy of mine. Folks, we are in a situation in this nation where there's a group of people who have never fought, never been in a fight, never served in the military, never been punched in the mouth, and they're making some big fucking talk. And eventually they're going to wake up that 3%. Now those 3%, think about that. Where do the majority of warriors from the conservative side come from? They come from that 3%. You wake them up, you're in trouble. We'll close out after this.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Franklin D. Roosevelt said,
In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can be sure it was planned that way.
I don't make a habit of quoting FDR, but on this point, he's 100% right, which makes Vice President Vance's comments from last night even more important to pay attention to.
The only way to honor Charlie is to get to the bottom of exactly how this person was radicalized and who else was involved in it.
Hi, I'm Peter Flaherty, chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center. Since 1991, the NLPC has investigated and exposed the high crimes and misdemeanors of politicians and corporate leaders alike. Our mission is about one thing: accountability, not partisanship, just like Vice President Vance was talking about last night.
That is political terrorism, but it's not just the people who are killing the cops. It's not just the people who are engaging and throwing the Molotov cocktails and in the riots. Where was the money coming from? Who was organizing this violent activity? That is not going after Democrats unless, by implication, you're saying every single Democrat is involved in planning political violence.
For the past several years, NLPC has focused on who's funding the violence on our streets and the radicalization of our kids. Oddly, the same names keep popping up. Names like Soros, Hoffman, and Gates. The protests and the riots aren't happening by accident. The violence is not spontaneous. The left strategy is clear: encourage arson, vandalism, and looting, and then blame the violence on the law enforcement response. The protesters are well-funded and equipped, and the NLPC is digging deep into exposing those responsible for supplying these groups with the masks, shields, and other devices being used to perpetuate violence in the name of social justice. To learn more about our mission or to join it, follow and share us on this social media platform or visit our website, nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez Project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it,
Please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Howdy, 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 and welcome back to the show. We are in our last 5 minutes here, so let's wrap things up here. I see here from Trent Parrott. Trent wrote that Rod was reelected in 2024. He is not up for reelection. That is not true. All politicians are continually up for re-election. The election may not be until 6 years from now, or what was that? It'd be 30, right? 2030? You honestly think we're going to make it that far? I don't think we're going to make it that far. I think the nation's falling apart. I think we're going to have a major issue before then. But that is a different story, and I digress. Hey, if you're wanting to find out more about the CramerSez Project and what we're trying to do, please join us at thecramersezproject.com. Get your butts over there and find out how you can help. Sign up. If you're a video editor, if you're a graphic designer, if you're from the media industry and you want to help with what we're doing, we want to hear from you. Please do that over at thecramersezproject.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching CramerSez Live.
This concludes this broadcast.
Please follow, like, and subscribe to be notified the next time
The CramerSez Project goes live.